is to see how you can use AI to help your job search. And really, AI is a tool, just like a tennis racket, it's an extension of yourself. Helps you move faster, save time, get new ideas, and brainstorm, and expand your options. And you'll hit the whole ball further if you use a tool like AI. And we're going to talk about that with Sean. So what we really want to emphasize is what we're trying to create is a team called the human machine team. And there's been a lot of sayings about this, that AI is not going to replace humans in the short term, but it's really going to be humans using AI will replace humans without AI.
About to turn in the driveway.
Hey guys, can you please self-mute? I didn't do that for the new participants. And here are some ideas on how AI can help you. So on the personal branding side, maybe some different ideas on how you're presenting yourself on LinkedIn and resume. So maybe on the headline, come up with different options. On elevator pitch, having some different variations. And let's talk about the networking. So role play, networking, interview role play. For example, you can upload company reports, annual reports, job description, LinkedIn profiles, and then ask AI for good interview questions. And we're going to have someone talk about how they used it for their job search. And finally, keeping your mindset and motivation high and preparing for those calls. I actually asked BoodleBox, how can I keep my motivation high on the job search? And it gave me a lot of great ideas. So this is really something that we all can use.
BoodleAI has been around for 8 years. So I jokingly tell people we were doing AI before AI became cool 2 years ago. We have a legacy platform for West Point grads. You'll appreciate the gray hogness. We called it Guide On. We are in the midst of selling that legacy platform off to focus entirely on what we're doing with BoodleBox. Very quick on my background. There we go. If you want to use this QR code, easiest way to get me on LinkedIn. I try and post 2 to 3 times a week on things around generative AI, what's going on, other studies I've seen. So if that's important to you, and if just in general, if there's anything I can do to be helpful, please reach out. Obviously, as Tom said, went to West Point. I was a computer science major there, but I will completely concede that the languages I learned to program in, they now teach in the history of computers class. So I have a wonderful development team who built this platform. Went into the Army, couldn't fly out of airplanes properly at Fort Bragg, and so got medicaled out. And that was the late 90s, and got into startups. And for 30 years now, I've pretty much been building companies, and took a brief respite after September 11th to return to government service, doing counterterrorism work in Southwest Asia and Africa. But after that, went back to grad school, went back to building companies, spent 8 years in the Middle East and Africa, doing mostly technology companies, one energy company, and was headed to Singapore to do venture work when Tom's classmate France pitched me on the idea of Boodle. And we've been off to the races ever since. In 2022, when generative AI launched, we realized there was actually a really big opportunity. We didn't realize how big of the opportunity until we dug more in the Q1 of 23. And what we realized is for all of the hype around generative AI, there was not a lot of adoption. There's no doubt hundreds of millions of people logged into ChatGPT and other platforms. But they built a haiku of their bowling team, but that was about it. They really didn't go any further. They definitely weren't building role-playing bots to help them with their job interviews. And so we realized we needed to find a way to get people to adopt easier. We needed to find a way to get people to collaborate easier as well. I realize as job seekers, your collaboration is probably limited to your coach. But in the job space, we wanted to make sure people could collaborate. And if someone in a team is on ChatGPT, someone else is in Claude, they're in silos, they're not collaborating. And then, of course, most important to organizations and to many people is being able to do it in a safe and secure manner, where your data is not being exposed to Google or Microsoft or someone else and being trained on. So why aren't people using generative AI today? Big thing is an unfamiliarity with a lack of need. So we as knowledge workers don't have the muscle memory yet to use this technology in our daily workflows. This is why when I meet people and I tell them, we're like, well, what's the best way to really learn generative AI? I'm like, just use it 10 to 15 minutes a day for 30 days. It's like going to the gym, right? You just can't learn it all in a day. And you can't expect amazing things after day one either. And what typically happens is after 1 week, people are like, I don't know if I'm going to stick with this. But somewhere in week 2 or 3, they take what is a 3-hour project, they sit down to generative AI, and it turns it into a 30-minute project. And that's that aha moment, and intuitive people start to figure out, hey, there's other places I can go put this. There's a belief that AI actually stunts thinking and creativity. What we found is it actually allows people to get rid of a lot of the mundane tasks and be able to think much more strategically and critically. So it actually empowers people if it's used properly. There's a fear over reliance. You know, what I would say is, how many of you do math longhand versus using Excel? Yes, there's an over reliance on Excel because it speeds things up. At the end of the day, is it making you forget how to do math? No, still is going to take you longer than doing it in Excel, but that over reliance is allowing you to do things faster and better and more efficiently. And then there's concerns around the effort and costs. And this, to me, is one of the greatest things about generative AI, is it's the first major technology platform I can think of that allows people to access for free on a very rudimentary scale. But even if you go for the best of the models, ChatGPT 4.0 or Claude 3.5 or Perplexity, you're paying $20 a month, right? 2 of your lattes a month you got to give up in order to have access to this. So why is it becoming a game changer? We're seeing faculty, students, and teams that are able to collaborate responsibly with AI. We're seeing that it enhanced critical thinking, as I mentioned. Super easy, as I said, to implement. You just log in, you start using it. You know, no big training courses, anything else. And then most of all, what it's providing is equitable access, right? There's not the haves and the have-nots. You don't need to have 10, 20, 50, $100,000 in a big company to be able to access this. Very quickly, these are the top 10 ways we see people using generative AI. And to back up for a minute, there's artificial intelligence is the big umbrella of what you've heard over the years. I mentioned our legacy platform was traditional AI, predictive AI. Generative AI is a subset of the overall artificial intelligence family. And so when we use it, we see people using it these 12 ways. I'm just going to list these. I'm happy to dig in if anybody wants to in any of these. Obviously, I'm going to talk about the role playing at the bottom. The content creation is where most people go to first, i.e. create me a haiku about my bowling team, or, hey, write me an email, that I need to do. This QR code, we hold once a week, every Tuesday, absolutely free, a Gen AI 101 session. So if you want to get a little bit more into this and learn more, it's a free session. You can sign up as many Tuesdays as you want. It's typically 20 to 25 minutes to go in detail on each of these 12, and then 20 to 25 minutes of Q&A. One of my favorite pieces of feedback from our Q&A session is people coming to tell me they realized that their question wasn't stupid. A lot of people sit in the background listening, and they're afraid to ask a question because they think they'll sound stupid, and then they hear someone asking it. So great resource. Feel free to use it if it's helpful. But for that reason, I'm not going to dig into these because that's available to you at any point in time. Where are we seeing collaborative teams use it? I'm gonna focus on how you all can use it. But as you make that job transition, this is where we're seeing a lot of people use it. We see sales and marketing teams, of course, using it to generate copy, write blogs, create social media content. Finance teams are using it. I'll show you in a minute how you can, figure out how to build a pivot table if you needed to. But they're also using it to research trends. We've got government contractors using it to analyze RFPs, draft proposals, check compliance, do translation work if they're trying to do international RFPs. And then consultants are definitely using this a great deal. It's a great way to maintain continuity with the client. Also a great way to be able to get work done as a collaborative team behind the scenes, separate from the client. I always like to share this. When I go into things, I like to understand, why am I digging into this? What is it actually going to do for me? This was an organization, 60-person organization. They gave us a pilot team of 16 people. 8 of these people had never even logged into ChatGPT. By the end of the month, all 16 people were using the platform weekly. Now, because they were new, they only spent 27 hours on the platform. They documented 372 hours of productive work that came out of that 27 hours. So for them, that's the equivalent of a 16-person team adding 2 FTEs or producing 20,000 in more productive work. You as an individual will see these same impacts if you put the time into it and you figure out where this works into your daily workflows. So with that, I'm going to dig into the platform. Real quick before I forget, I did mention the training courses. If you need it, it's on our website as well. If you missed the QR code, come to the Learning Hub. We also have recordings of the ones we've done before. Also knowing that people learn in different ways. About 2 months ago, we finally got into the YouTube game. And so we've got our customers, some of people from our team putting short videos on how they're using generative AI. So feel free to make use of those. As for the platform, so this is our platform. As I mentioned, adoption, collaboration, security, 3 big things that we're worried about. On the adoption side, everything that you do on Boodlebox is private unless you overtly make it public, and you have to check a block to decide you want to make it public. But if you do, knowing that TikTok and Facebook and Instagram are billion-dollar companies, because people today, they like to share, we wanted to give people an outlet. So if you come into the lower left corner and you punch on Explore, we created the first ever social media feed of generative AI. These are actual Boodle users who are proud of the prompt that they did, and they've now posted that prompt for other people to see. And so someone can go and go, well, I've heard of Claude, and if I were to type this prompt in, this is what I could expect. Maybe you didn't know there's an image generator called Stable Diffusion 3. And if you put this prompt in, this is what you can expect. And so very much how, as young kids, we might have gone to the playground and learned to do the monkey bars by watching another kid do monkey bars. Now we can watch other people passively doing prompts and learn how to prompt. Now, that being said, at the end of last year, when McKinsey and Bain and BCG all tried to figure out why adoption in the North America was less than 10%, and they asked people why they weren't adopting, the number one reason cited was this fear around prompt engineering. People heard the term prompt engineering, they equated it with computer programming, and they just weren't going to learn it. And so they stayed away from it. So we knew we had to build something into the platform that allowed people to not have to prompt. So what we did is, if you go to our bot garage, we have created over 1,000 AI helpers that do very specific needs. Now, you don't have time to sit and scroll through 1,000. So what we did is, when you come to the same window that Kathy, it was, that you might have looked at in ChatGPT, you can now look in here and say, I need to build a pivot table in Excel. And what it's going to do for you is it's going to tell you, and I apologize, there we go, computer's a little slow. It's going to give you access to the big models, but it's going to tell you there's an Excel bot that can help you with all your Excel issues if you needed it. If I had typed in instead, spell we bit better off, I need to build a LinkedIn profile more in line with what you all might be looking at, what it's going to tell me is there's a LinkedIn profile bot. It's also going to tell me there's a resume bot, there's a career coach bot, there's a job search advisor bot. So if you're building a LinkedIn profile, AI helpers, that might be helpful to you. But let's go with the LinkedIn profile bot. Here's where we flip the script on what ChatGPT and Claude and all the others are doing, is that instead of me having to figure out how to prompt this to get what I need, what it is going to do is it's going to prompt me. It's going to introduce itself, should be introducing itself. The downfalls of doing a live demo, right? Hold on one second. All right, let's try again. When at first you don't succeed. All right, there it is. So what it's going to do is it's going to introduce itself, tell what it does. It knows how to build a good prompt. And so it's going to ask me a series of 1 to 8 questions to get from me what it needs to build a good prompt. It will then build it, put it into the large language model, and feed me back what I need. 70% of our users only use our AI helpers, which means 70% of our users have no idea what a good prompt looks like, and yet somehow they're still able to use generative AI. So in this case, it's coming and asking me there. For some reason, this one finally kicked in. So it's coming and asking me, hey, do you have a bio, a CV, or a resume? And so I can upload knowledge into any chat that I want. I can just go to my hard drive, Google Drive, Dropbox, and load it in. I've already loaded into the knowledge bank a bio about a guy named Alex. It's a fake bio. And now very conversational. Hi, my name is Alex, and I just uploaded my bio. Can you use that for a first draft? And now what it's going to do is look at my bio, determine whether it's got any other questions, and then boom, it's spitting out a first draft. Now, this is a very important for those of you who have not used generative AI. Generative AI is not the final answer. Generative AI is meant to be a first draft solution. But any of you who built your LinkedIn profile, I'd be shocked if anybody built their first draft of their LinkedIn profile in less than 30 minutes. Most people will probably take an hour, 2 hours to get through it and build that first draft. You just got a first draft in 30 seconds. So that's the power of generative AI. Now, it still needs work. Kathy, you said you used ChatGPT, correct?
Correct.
So you may look at this and go, hey, Sean, that's cute, but I bet ChatGPT could do a better job. Another feature we have, well, you can find out. You can bring ChatGPT right into the conversation. And I can ask it, can you improve this? And now the first part of what we bring with collaboration is allowing the AIs to collaborate. So now ChatGPT is talking to our AI helper. It took its first draft, and now it's building a better draft of it. I could have brought in Llama, could have brought in Gemini, could have brought in Claude, just happened to bring ChatGPT into the conversation. Now, here's where it goes to the next step. All of you have coaches, right? If you wanted input on this and wanted to send it to your career coach, and let's say instead of 2 prompts, you're maybe 20 prompts deep, right? You invested 30 minutes. You really want a good product you can show your coach and be proud of. You're 30 prompts deep into ChatGPT. What could you do? You could take a screenshot. You could do a cut and paste. You could send it to your coach, but they're only going to see that last thing that you did, right? They're going to have, I wonder if Steve did this. I wonder if Kathy did this. Now what you can do is we allow you to save everything into boxes. So you come in here, whoops, wrong one, and you create a box, right? And so we're going to create our CareerNerds box, right? We let it know we're keeping it private, and we create it. We go back to our chat, and we keep it. And again, just like you would any place else, you tell it where you want to save it to. I'm saving it to Career Nerds, but here's the key. I enable the chat thread. So now my career coach can see all 20 of my prompts if I want them to. And here's the big key. If I want them to be able to continue the chat rather than having to start all over in their own ChatGPT silo, I can allow them to continue my chat. And so now I save this. And when I go in and I decide to send this over to Tom for his input, sorry, just need to move screen. Now what he's going to see when he opens it up is, in this case, 2 prompts, but if I had 20, he'd be able to go through all 20 prompts. And then if he looks at this and based on his years of experience goes, hey, Sean did a pretty good job, but he didn't realize he probably should have used Gemini. So he can come in here, change the name of the conversation, and now he picks up all the work I've done, my 30 minutes I've invested, and he calls Gemini into the conversation and says, can you improve this? And boom, Gemini's now in the conversation. My work is not wasted. I don't have to recreate it. And we're getting the next best product. The other thing I could do for collaboration, though, is if I had something a little bit more urgent and I wanted Tom's input right away, if I'm on ChatGPT today, I got to coordinate a Zoom call with him. I got to get him on the Zoom call. I got to share my screen. He's got to try and read on his screen all I've done while I scroll. What I can do now is I just send Tom a chat link or a Boodle link. And now when he clicks on it, he comes right into this chat with me. And now Tom and I can talk to each other, but he can also prompt the AIs as well. And so if you wanted to work either synchronously in a meeting or even asynchronously with your coach, you could have a group chat going where they're able to go back and forth with you, but you're able to get work done. And when needed, they can put input in. So that's kind of the collaborative power of what ChatGPT or of what BoodleBox brings. the ability to bring ChatGPT, Llama, Gemini. For those of you who haven't used it for research, one of the greatest bots I think to use for research is actually Perplexity. It's actually trained on the web. So its research is going to be much more current. So if I did, it's CareerNerds.com, right, Tom?
Yes, correct.
So if I say, provide me a detailed summary about CareerNerds.com, and boom, it starts popping it up. So if you're doing research on companies, even people, and they've got bios in other places, Perplexity is a great tool to be able to use. And the nice thing is, once Perplexity finds something, if you want to go back to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you're using, you bring them right in the conversation and they get all the context that Perplexity brought in. There's no cutting and pasting or trying to teach ChatGPT or Claude what you learned on another source. I'm going to pause there. I've got an example I want to walk through, as I mentioned, on the bot stacking, but I want to pause there and see if there are any questions. All right, we will jump into bot stacking. Bot stacking. So did a notional example of Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump looking for a job, right? And so first thing he did was put his bio in to the LinkedIn profile bot, the one I showed you, and boom, punched out a pretty good LinkedIn profile. One of the things he did is we went back and said, hey, there's a little bit too much military jargon in there. Could you translate it? And boom, it translated it. The next thing we did then is got to build a resume, right? Went to the resume bot. Can you create a resume based on that above profile? And boom, started creating a resume. Some of these bots will ask questions before it does this. In this case, it had enough information to move forward. Then what we did is we went into ChatGPT and we said, hey, could you improve that first draft of the resume? And boom, ChatGPT did a little bit better job in improving it. Then stacking the third bot on top is went to the career coach bot. Hey, my name's Lieutenant Dan. What job should I consider, especially in light of my injuries? I like being outside. I prefer jobs where I can be my own boss. And I like working with small teams. And boom, what is this? 6 examples: fishing boat captain, marina owner, fishing equipment retail, federal, state, and fishing game warden, or national state park ranger. And so then went on to a fourth bot, the job search plan bot. Hey, I like option number 1 above. I might be interested in being a first mate. Can you help me create a plan? And as you can see, it came back with a question. Sure. What geographic area you're looking for? I came back with any place. Great. What time period you're looking for? Came back and told him next 6 months. And boom, it built out a rudimentary first draft plan, not a super detailed, but again, it's a first draft of, hey, here's what months 1 through 6 look like in your job search. Now going to the job as search advisor, so tacking a 5th bot on there. How do I find independent bone owners? Boom, it spits those out. Going to the 6th one, and Kathy, you kind of touched on the resume compare. Hey, this is great. I think I may have found an old friend who's a fishing boat captain. Can I revise my resume above to better fit this opportunity? And so now the resume bot goes and compares it to what you're trying to do and fixes up your resume to go through. I will pause here for people who have not used generative AI. You may not have heard of a term called hallucinations. Generative AI is not perfect, but generative AI really, really wants to please. It's like my 5-year-old son. He will lie to my face if it will get a smile on my face, right? Generative AI can't see your face, but it wants you to smile. So whatever generative AI produces, Tom said it at the outset, it is the human machine team. You have to review what comes out of here because sometimes it is prone to making up things. Just the other day, I was having it help me on a LinkedIn post. I fed it a draft. I asked for feedback. One of the things it came back with is you should put more stats in. Here's a revised copy. And it had these amazing statistics. And I was like, God, these are great. This fits my narrative perfectly. But I went on the web trying to find them, couldn't find them. So I asked the generative AI, I'm like, well, where did these stats come from? And it's like, oh yeah, these were just illustrative. So it just made something up completely. So you never want to just cut and paste whatever you get. You want to make sure you check what you see. Now tacking the seventh bot on top was the letter cover bot. Hey, can you write me a cover letter for the above resume to send to my friend who's operating a shrimp boat? I'm interested in serving there. Boom, comes out with a first draft for you. Again, not a final draft. You're probably going to work with it. And then what they did is, what I hear a lot of people say when they ask for things to be generated is, well, it doesn't sound like me. It's not how I write. In this case, what the person did was, what I did is I just put in how I write. I gave it an email. What you can also do is take 3, 4, 5 writing examples, the same way I uploaded them here. You can upload that and let the machine know, this is how I talk. Use these documents as a foundation, and now write me a first draft. And as you can see, the first draft came out sounding more like how Lieutenant Dan might actually talk. Then we went to the 8th bot, which was the interview prep bot. This is not role playing. I'll talk about role playing in a minute, but this was just basic interview prep. And then coming in, digging a little bit deeper with the interview bot, asking it, hey, can you generate 10 potential questions? And then writing the thank you afterwards. Hey, I want to write a thank you letter from me to Forrest Gump for helping me. And then used ChatGPT saying, hey, I want it to be stronger and more grateful. And boom, it spit it out. Going back to the career coach bot, hey, what's typical compensation for a first mate? I actually would probably bring Perplexity in as well to kind of double check what comes out of here. But here's some great information. And then going back to the career coach bot and saying, hey, how should I negotiate for my compensation? And giving you some ideas on things that you could be doing. Again, all of these are first drafts. Tom's comfortable me coming on here because this is not going to replace any of your career coaches. What it could replace, though, is a lot of the rudimentary questions a lot of people might have if they're doing this for the first time, right? So that when you do get the time with your career coach, they're not having to go over the rudimentary stuff with you. They're going over the higher level stuff with you, which is going to make you better prepared and have more insights into what you need to do. But this is an example, as you can see, of a dozen bots being stacked on each other. The likelihood you would do this in one sitting, not likely. And that's the great thing about chats is you could start a chat and just keep it going. You could keep it going for 6 months. And every time you put more information in, the AI is learning from you, right? And so if you give it feedback that I definitely don't want a job in Nebraska because it came up with a job in Nebraska, it's never going to offer you jobs in Nebraska in the future. If you tell it, hey, I can't travel, it's going to learn that, not look for jobs that are focused on travel. And so it's going to learn you, but you could keep this going for your entire job search and have it get smarter and smarter as it works with you.